There are several candidates for the greatest player ever to hail from the British Isles, and a popular choice was aptly named. Northern Ireland's George Best was a legend of the game, dazzling crowds of his skill set that was years ahead of its time. His incredible ability to beat players, combined with his charismatic charm, made him an unforgettable character of the beautiful game. And whilst his life was full of tragedy too, he will no doubt forever be a legend. This is a story of the life of George Best. George Best was born in Belfast on the 22nd of May 1946, one of 6 children. He showed academic skills at school and would qualify to join a grammar school. However, he disliked the school being one that was passionate about rugby union rather than football, and would often skip school as a result. After switching schools so he could focus on football, his career path would soon be set in stone. Manchester United scout Bob Bishop spotted a 15-year-old Best in Belfast and sent a telegram to Matt Busby saying, "I think I found you a genius." He would have a trial at the Red Devils and was soon signed up. Having initially fled due to homesickness, he returned and had to work on the Manchester canals to make a living, as English clubs could not take on non-English players as apprentices at the time. Manchester United were in the midst of a rebuild following the Munich air disaster of 1958, where they lost 8 of their players. Under Matt Busby and Jimmy Murphy's management, they had developed a reputation for bringing young talent through the ranks, and were looking to do so again, having fallen apart. They won their first trophy since the disaster in the FA Cup in 1963, and Best would soon be another of Busby's young superstars. An injury to winger Ian Moore meant that George Best would have his big chance in a game against West Brom at Old Trafford on the 14th of September 1963. Jimmy Murphy insisted that Best be drafted into the first team, and in an interview building up to the game, Matt Busby said, "We've got an Irish boy called Best, and if he doesn't make a bloody genius, I haven't seen one." The 17-year-old took his first steps into a larger world and impressed the crowd with his skill, playing a part in David Sadler's winning goal. Whilst it would take another couple of months to make another senior appearance, he made it count. His second game came against Burnley on 28th December, and Best would score in a 5-1 win. He soon established himself in the team and never looked back. George Best made 26 appearances and scored 6 goals in his first campaign, also winning the FA Youth Cup, whilst he helped the senior side to second place in the semi-finals of the FA Cup. Whilst Best would go on to have off-the-pitch issues, he would perfect his abilities in training. Dennis Law described Best as the greatest trainer he had ever played with, and Matt Busby set up brutal physical training sessions to toughen Best up and prepare him for the strong challenges he would face as a winger. He had started life at Old Trafford as a shy boy, but was soon to become a household name. Best netted 10 goals in the league and 14 overall as Manchester United won the top flight for the first time since the Munich air disaster, and he had truly burst onto the scene. Still a teenager, he wowed crowds with his dribbling ability and endless capacity to get past players. His creativity, pace and ambidextrous feet made him head and shoulders above the others, and he would form part of the iconic Holy Trinity with fellow forwards Dennis Law and Bobby Charlton. In 1966, he made himself known internationally, dazzling in a display against Eusebio's Benfica, netting twice as Manchester United won 5-1 at the Estadio del Luis to advance to the quarter-finals. Manchester United failed to win any trophies that season, and a knee injury saw him miss the end of the campaign. Best would return the next season though, and netted 10 goals in 45 games in all competitions as the league returned to Old Trafford. The next season would be, if you'll pardon the pun, his best. George Best netted twice in a 2-0 victory over Liverpool at Anfield, and although the Red Devils would lose the title on the last day to neighbours Man City, there would be a chance to make history on the European stage. Manchester United knocked out Hibernians, Sarajevo and Gornik Zabrze to meet Real Madrid in the semi-finals. Los Blancos had dominated the competition since its inception, winning the first 5 editions and won it again in '66. Best, however, would be the difference. In the first leg, he blasted the ball into the net in the 36th minute, and Manchester United went into the second leg with a 1-0 lead. A dramatic 3-3 draw at the Santiago Bernabeu was enough. Manchester United would play in their first European Cup final. Naturally, the Manchester United players are nervous building up to a game against Benfica, but in typical style, George Best relaxed before the game by sleeping with a girl. He was awarded the FWA Player of the Year shortly before the final two. With Dennis Law injured, there was huge pressure on Best to perform at Wembley. He did not disappoint. Bobby Charlton gave Manchester United the lead in the 53rd minute, but Benfica levelled 11 minutes some time. A vital save from Alex Stepney stopped Eusebio from winning it. The game went into extra time, where the Belfast boy truly shone. 3 minutes into extra time, George Best pounced on the long ball from Alex Stepney and formed a terrific feint to get past Benfica keeper Enrique, before neatly placing it into the net. It was a marvellous piece of skill, and it got the ball rolling for the Red Devils to seal it once and for all. A second from Charlton and one from birthday boy Brian Kidd sealed the European Cup. George Best embraced the tearful Matt Busby after the game. He had risen through the ranks to become a European champion at 22, and his goal was the decisive moment that turned the game in his side's favour. It had been a phenomenal season for Best. He was on top of the world, having netted 32 goals in all competitions. At the end of the year, it was capped off by him winning the Ballon d'Or. Sadly though, it would soon turn out his career had hit its peak. He still performed valiantly the next campaign, but Manchester United slumped to 11th in the league, and Best was also sent off in a violent encounter against Estudiantes in the Intercontinental Cup. Matt Busby would depart as manager at the end of the season. Best struggled with the pressure put on him. The team had gone from revolving around Best to depending on Best, and he had to find ways to deal with the pressure. His method of coping was in the form of a bottle. His competitive nature meant he did not just want to outdo people on the pitch, he wanted to outdo people on the drink too. It was a habit he could never truly shake. Best's talent remained strong though, with him once netting an incredible 6 goals in an FA Cup tie against Northampton, and he also scored an iconic lob against Tottenham and a brilliant solo goal against Sheffield United. However, his professionalism was crumbling, as he was often involved in fights on the pitch, and on one occasion missed a game to spend a weekend with actress Sinead Cusack. He later missed an entire week of training to hang out with Miss Great Britain. Growing disillusioned with the game, Best announced his retirement in football in 1972, having netted 27 goals that season, making him their top scorer for the 6th consecutive campaign. However, he would quickly reverse this decision. As younger players joined the squad, Best began to be seen as part of the old guard and struggled to engage with his new teammates. After going AWOL, he was transfer listed by manager Tommy Docherty. Best was later arrested on charges of theft as well. He would play his last game for the club against QPR in 1974 and failed to turn up for training 3 days later. His relationship with the club had become increasingly strained, and with his love for football fading, he would leave Manchester United in 1974. He had made 474 appearances for the club, scored 181 goals, won 2 league titles, and a European Cup for them. But his lifestyle had caught up with him, and now 28, he was in footballing wilderness. He made a surprise move to South Africa to play for the side Jewish Guild, and whilst he would attract huge crowds, he only played 5 games for them, and would miss a large amount of training sessions. He had spells with Stockport County and Cork Celtic, before having a moderately successful spell with Fulham, having been persuaded to join them by Bobby Moore. He would travel to America, having spells with Los Angeles Aztecs and Fort Lauderdale Strikers, and after a spell in Scotland with Hibernian, he joined San Jose Earthquakes, where he scored 21 goals in 56 games, including an incredible solo effort in 1981. He remained a great character, fulfilling a promise of nutmegging Johan Cruyff at the first opportunity during a game against the Netherlands, and being involved with a drinking session with the French rugby team saw him briefly sacked by Hibernian. He finished his playing career with spells at AFC Bournemouth and Brisbane Lions. By now, his demons meant he was a shadow of his former self. He would be drunk most of the time, once stealing money from a woman's purse so he could go on a binge in America, as well as appearing drunk on a TV appearance with Terry Wogan, and on one occasion was arrested on a charge of drink driving. Unfortunately, the pressures of stardom and the lavish lifestyle that comes to being at the top had got the better of him, and it was a battle he could not win. He said he once had tried giving up alcohol and women, and it was the worst 20 minutes of his life. Perhaps his most famous reflection of his indulgent life is, "I spent a lot of money on booze, birds, and fast cars. The rest I just squandered." His battle continued after his playing career, and he ended up having a liver transplant, undergoing an operation that almost killed him. The aftermath was controversial, as the operation was performed at public expense, and he was later spotted drinking white wine spritzers in public. His battle with the bottle would soon finally be lost. In 2005, George Best was admitted to hospital due to a kidney infection, and Best knew he was at death's door. Many friends and well-wishers visited him, including Dennis Law and Bobby Charlton. A photo of Best was published at his request of him looking deathly ill, with yellow skin caused by jaundice, with the message, "Don't die like me." George Best would pass away on the 25th of November 2005 at the age of 59. There is nobody in the world of football quite like George Best. To achieve so much in a career that virtually ended in his late 20s is remarkable, and Best played in a style decades ahead of his time. He made the game what it should be, beautiful and entertaining, and there were few as admired as him. George Best was truly an example of the candle that burns twice as bright, burning half as long, achieving far more than anyone else in a shorter life. Once saying that if he had to choose between scoring at Anfield and sleeping with Miss World, it would be a tough call, but thankfully he had done both. He was a marvel, and whilst the tail end of his life was ravaged by destructive demons, we should remember him as the elegant winger who tore defences to shreds and helped lift a club from the ashes in style. The British Isles have produced so many superstars, but out of all of them, it may well be George who is the best. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video on the AFC Finners channel. If you'd like to see more videos like this, please have a look at the channel down below and check out the hundreds of videos available. If you'd like to support the channel on Patreon, you can do so in the link below for as little as £1 a month. Please let me know what you thought of this video and what topic you'd like me to cover next. See you next time.